The first big sign of this break started in a place that everyone thought was going to be the big winner. Turkey was the bridge between the East and the West, and was the model for a successful economy. But things changed quickly.
We begin here in Turkey, where rising inflation and growing strains with overseas allies are spooking investors away from the local currency.
In late 2022, it took 28 Turkish liras to equal $1. 10 years before that, it only took 2. This was not just a small change, it was a total destruction of the money. The leaders of the country spent years trying to ignore the rules of how money works by lowering interest rates while prices were already exploding.
Two leaders are not trying to work out something to dampen down the problem. They're in fact taking measures to exacerbate it.
By late 2022, the cost of living went up by 85%. This meant a teacher who used to have enough money for a family could now barely pay for a place to live. The middle class was wiped out. It is a sad story because Turkey was the one everyone pointed to as the nation that worked. Now it is a lesson in what not to do. The smartest people in the country are leaving in huge numbers. Doctors, engineers, and teachers are all looking for a way out because they do not see a future at home. They are leaving because staying means their hard work and degrees will not be worth anything. Things get even crazier when looking at the theories behind this crash. Some people believe that the money did not just fail on its own. There are whispers that secret groups used computer bots to attack the lira to stop Turkey from becoming too powerful. Basically, if Turkey grew too fast, it would have too much control over the trade between Europe and Asia. By breaking the money, those outside groups kept the country under their thumb. Others point to a missing stash of gold that was supposed to be in the central bank. It has been missing for years, and no one knows where it went. Some think it was moved to a secret location to pay for a shadow government that really runs things from the dark. This key detail can shock the average person. The loss of money was so fast it looked like a planned hit. While the people struggled, the elite were moving their wealth into different assets that the regular people could not touch. This was not just bad luck, it was a total system reset. Then, a massive earthquake hit in early 2023. It was a magnitude 7.8, and more than 50,000 people died. Buildings that were supposed to be safe fell down like they were made of paper. This showed that there was a lot of cheating and bad work in the construction industry. The cost to fix everything is around $34 billion. For a country already struggling with money, this was a final blow. Turkey is not just any nation. It has the second largest army in NATO and holds 4 million refugees from Syria. If Turkey fails, those people will move toward Europe and change the world even more. The brain drain is making it impossible to fix the buildings correctly because the experts have already left for Germany or the US. For starters, the country is losing its mind and its muscle at the same time. The total cost of the quake is actually higher when counting the lost jobs and broken spirits. Hands down, this is the hardest time the country has ever faced. A shadow seems to be falling over the lands that were once the pride of the ancient world. The trouble in the north is now moving toward a nation that people used to say was too big to ever fail. Egypt has 119 million people and is the center of the Arab world. People assumed the rest of the world would never let Egypt crash. But it is happening anyway. The Egyptian pound has lost half its value since 2022. Officially, it looks okay, but on the street, it is much worse. Prices for bread and oil are going up so fast that 60% of the people now live in poverty. That means about 70 million people are struggling every day just to get what they need. The debt is the biggest trap of all. Egypt owes $161 billion to other countries. 10 years ago, that number was much lower. The money was spent on huge projects like a new capital city in the desert and military equipment that does not help the economy grow. What most people do not realize is that there are theories about this new desert city. It is being built for tens of billions of dollars while people in Cairo cannot afford meat. Some say the city is actually a massive bunker system for the global elite to hide in if the region explodes. The buildings are laid out in strange patterns that some believe match ancient star charts, suggesting a hidden purpose that goes beyond just moving the government. It has been missing from the news, but the water for this new city is being taken away from the farmers who grow the food. This creates a risk of famine that seems almost intentional. If the farmers cannot grow food, the people become totally dependent on the government for bread. This gives the leaders total control over the lives of 119 million people. So, here is the deal. The debt is a way to keep the country locked in place while the elite build their escape hatch. Now nearly half of the money the government makes goes just to pay the interest on those loans. Before they can pay for schools or hospitals, they have to send money to other countries. This is like a giant money game that has 119 million people trapped inside. Every year, Egypt adds 2 million more people, which is like adding the city of Philadelphia every single year. The economy cannot grow fast enough to give everyone a job. Since 2014, the military has taken over a huge part of the business world, making everything from pasta to cement. This stops regular people from starting businesses and hurts the country. Egypt also buys more wheat than anyone else in the world. When the war in Ukraine started, the price of bread became a huge problem. Egypt is just one big shock away from not having enough food. With the war in Gaza nearby, tourism is also down, and that is money the country desperately needs. If Egypt falls apart, millions of people could flee across the sea, and the region would lose its most stable force. When the people can no longer afford bread, the roar of the streets becomes a sound that no army can stop. The fear of a large country failing becomes even more intense when that country has nuclear weapons. Pakistan has 257 million people and 170 nuclear bombs, but the economy almost stopped working entirely in 2023. The country was just days away from running out of money to buy things from other countries. Prices went up by 38%, and families had to skip meals just to survive. Pakistan had to ask for its 24th loan from the World Fund. This is a sign that the country is stuck in a loop of needing help just to stay alive. Each loan comes with rules that make life harder for poor people, while the rich and the generals do not feel the pain. The politics are also a mess. A popular leader was kicked out, and there have been huge protests and fights in the streets. There are theories that the floods of 2022 were not just natural disasters. Some people believe that weather-altering tech was used to drown the country and break its spirit. This would force the leaders to give up their nuclear bombs in exchange for money to fix the damage. It is a wild idea, but in the streets people wonder why the rain never stopped for weeks. Basically, the floods turned 1/3 of the country into an ocean. If the country stays broke, it is easier for outside powers to control the weapons. There are also stories about secret tunnels beneath the mountains where the bombs are kept, and some believe that special units from other countries are already waiting to move in if the government falls. It is a very tense situation where everyone is watching each other. I am not going to lie, the thought of those weapons going missing is the biggest fear of every spy agency on the planet. While this is happening, a group of fighters known as the TTP has come back and started attacking people again. These attacks went up by 70% in 2024. The military is busy with politics and is losing control in some areas. On top of all this, the Great Flood of 2022 put 1/3 of the country underwater. 33 million people were affected, and the damage cost $30 billion. It was like the end of the world for many people. Science shows that more floods and heat waves are coming. The biggest nightmare for the world is what happens to those nuclear weapons if the country falls into total chaos. A nation that large with that many bombs falling apart is something that keeps world leaders awake at night. If Pakistan crashes, it will hurt Afghanistan, India, and the nations nearby. The loss of jobs is causing many young men to join groups that promise them a purpose, which only adds more fuel to the fire. In the high mountains and crowded cities, a clock is ticking that nobody knows how to reset. While some countries are slowly falling, others have toppled over almost in a single night. Afghanistan changed forever in August 2021 when the old government disappeared and the Taliban took over Kabul. Within hours, 20 years of building a country was gone. Then, the real pain started. The money the country had in other places was frozen, and the aid that paid for most of the government stopped coming. The economy shrank by almost 30% in just 1 year. This is the kind of crash that usually only happens during a war, but this happened after the fighting ended. By 2025, 64% of the people were living in deep poverty. The new leaders chose their beliefs over making the country work. Things get even crazier when you look at the resources under the ground. Afghanistan has trillions of dollars in minerals like lithium and copper. Some theorists believe the current chaos is just a cover for secret deals being made with shadow corporations. While the people starve, trucks are moving across the borders at night, carrying away the wealth of the nation. It has been missing from the public eye, but the land is being stripped of its value while the world is told it is just a failed state. This key detail can shock those who think the country is just poor. It is actually very rich, but the people never see a penny of it. There are also rumors that the sudden fall of Kabul was planned to allow these secret groups to take over without any oversight from the world. This would be the ultimate resource grab under the guise of a political failure. They stopped women from working and girls from going to school. They kicked out the people who knew how to run the government and replaced them with people who only cared about religion. Now, the state can barely do anything. The lights go out, the water systems break, and hospitals do not have medicine. Their only answer is to make stricter rules about how people dress. Over 28 million people now need help from other countries just to eat. Some families are doing desperate things like selling their belongings or even their children just to buy food. Afghanistan has gone back 50 years in just 4 years. This is a problem for everyone else because it makes fighters in other countries feel like they can win too. The people with skills like doctors and engineers have all fled, leaving a huge hole in the country. It shows that when beliefs come before feeding people, the whole nation suffers. Hands down, this is a human disaster that is spreading through the region like a poison. When a country is stripped of its future and its talent, only a hollow shell remains for the world to see. The pressure is building in a place that could cause the biggest disaster of all if it breaks. Iran is facing a money crash that is hard to even imagine. It now takes 1,470,000 Iranian rials to buy just $1. Not long ago, it was only 12,000. This is a 99% loss in what people can buy. Imagine all your savings being worth almost zero in just a few years. People have to carry huge piles of money just to buy a piece of bread. Prices double in a few months, and jobs do not pay enough to live. While this is happening, the leaders are spending billions of dollars on fights in other countries and on building missiles. They spent 35% more on their military in 2025, while their own people were struggling. The water crisis in Iran has led to some very wild theories. Some say the water is being stolen by secret underground pipelines to serve hidden cities built for the elite. While the taps in Tehran go dry, these hidden spots have lush gardens and flowing fountains. It sounds like a movie, but as the reservoirs hit zero, people are looking for answers. Some think the drought is being manufactured through satellite tech to keep the population weak and unable to protest. Basically, a thirsty population is a tired population. If you are busy looking for water for your kids, you do not have the energy to fight the government. It has been missing from the official reports, but the 0 day for water might be a chosen date to reset the urban areas and force people back into the countryside. This would be a massive social experiment done by those in power. Then, the water started to disappear. Tehran, a city with 15 million people, is getting close to the day when the taps run dry. The big dams are almost empty, and some areas only get water for a few hours. In the summer, the heat is almost too much to bear, reaching 122 degrees Fahrenheit. In late 2025, the president even admitted he could not fix the problems and told people not to blame him. This caused people to lose all hope in the system. The streets are now full of people protesting, including the business owners who used to support the government. People are not asking for small changes anymore. They want a total change in how the country is run. If this government falls, it could lead to a very dangerous situation where the military does something desperate to stay in power. Iran is the piece that holds the whole region together. If it falls, the archway collapses. Iran also borders the water where 21% of the world's oil travels. Any fight there would make oil prices go up everywhere and hurt the whole world's economy. A nation without water is a nation that has nothing left to lose but its chains. The crash in the region is already hurting the closest friends of these failing nations. Lebanon is what happens when a country completely breaks. The money there has lost 98% of its value. Banks locked people out of their own accounts, so they could not even get their savings. A teacher's pay dropped to only $50 a month. The middle class was destroyed in a single night. The banks are broken, and the government cannot pay its debts. The World Bank said this is one of the worst crashes in over 100 years. By 2023, 8 out of 10 people were poor. The government only gives people 1 or 2 hours of electricity a day. There is a theory that the money in Lebanon did not just vanish. Some believe it was moved into a secret digital network by the banks and the elite before the crash happened. They essentially created a ghost economy that only they can use, while the regular people are left with worthless paper. This would mean the crash was a way to steal the life savings of an entire nation in a legal way. There are also rumors that the port explosion in 2020 was not an accident, but a way to destroy evidence of massive smuggling operations that involved high-level leaders. This key detail can shock anyone who believes it was just negligence. The explosion cleared out the center of the city and silenced anyone who was looking into the secret books. So, here is the deal. The entire country was used as a piggy bank, and when it was empty, they blew it up to cover their tracks. If you want more electricity, you have to pay for a private machine. Medicine is hard to find, and people wait for hours just to get gas. The smart people have all left the country. The government is stuck because the different groups cannot agree on anything, leaving the country without a leader for a long time. Then there was the huge explosion at the port in 2020. It eliminated over 200 people and showed how much the government had failed. No one has been held responsible for it. Now, a group called Hezbollah is taking over the jobs the government used to do. They provide food and doctors in some areas. This makes other countries afraid to help Lebanon because they do not want to help that group. But without help, the country just keeps falling. Lebanon is a warning of what happens when the money breaks and the government stops working. It shows the end of the road that other countries are currently walking down. When the bank doors close and the lights go out, the only thing left is the shadow of a country that once was. Things get even crazier when you look at a place that did not just fail but exploded into violence. Sudan was hit by a massive civil war in early 2023, and it honestly felt like the world just looked the other way while it happened. This was not some small disagreement in a far-off corner of the country. It was a total breakdown. Two different generals who used to be on the same side started fighting for total power, and they did not care who got caught in the middle. Because of their greed, the capital city of Khartoum turned into a literal war zone almost overnight. Imagine living in a normal neighborhood and suddenly seeing fighter planes dropping bombs on the house next door. Imagine shooters sitting on the roofs of schools and apartments, waiting for anything to move. People were trapped inside their homes for weeks without any running water or power, listening to the sound of explosions getting closer every single hour. The fighting did not stay in the city, though. It spread like a wildfire to other parts of the country, and old fights between different ethnic groups started up again because there was no one left to keep the peace. By late 2025, the situation had reached a point that is hard to even wrap your brain around. Over 12 million people had to pack up whatever they could carry and leave their homes behind forever. There are theories that this war is actually a cover for something much bigger, hidden deep in the desert. If you think about it, a war is the perfect distraction. While the world is looking at the news reports of the fighting, no one is looking at the empty spaces on the map. Some archaeologists think that a massive ancient site was found out there that could completely rewrite the story of human history. We are talking about something so old and so big that it would change everything we think we know about where we came from. There are whispers that different world powers are using the two generals like puppets to fight over who gets to control this site. This secret has been missing from every major news report, almost like someone is making sure it stays buried. On top of the ancient secrets, there are also stories of rare minerals that were discovered near the Red Sea. These aren't just normal rocks. They are the kind of minerals needed for next-gen energy and high-tech batteries that the whole world is screaming for right now. The war provides the perfect excuse to keep regular people, reporters, and inspectors away while these minerals are quietly taken out of the ground. Basically, the more people flee the country, the easier it is for these powerful groups to control the land. If the country stays in a state of constant war, no one can ask questions about the giant holes being dug in the desert far away from the front lines. This key detail is something that could shock the entire world if the truth ever came out. The regular people living in Sudan are just pawns in a much larger game played by people who only care about gold and the secrets of the past. While the powerful players are looking for treasure, the actual people are living through a nightmare. Millions of them fled to countries nearby like Egypt and Chad. These people had to walk through scorching heat for days with no food or water, hoping to find safety across the border. Thousands of people have died in the crossfire, and over 21 million people are now facing a level of hunger that is hard to describe. In some areas, there is a total lack of food, meaning parents have to watch their kids get weaker every day because there is nothing left to eat. The hospitals have been destroyed or taken over by soldiers, so if you get sick or hurt, there is nowhere to go. Diseases are spreading fast because the water is dirty, and there is no trash pickup or cleaning happening in the ruins of the cities. Even though this is one of the biggest disasters on the planet, the rest of the world has been busy with other news stories and has mostly ignored what is happening in Sudan. There have been many attempts by other countries to sit the generals down and make them stop the fighting, but every single one of those attempts has failed. Ignoring this mess is a huge mistake and very dangerous for everyone else. The millions of refugees are putting a massive strain on neighbors like Egypt and Chad. These countries are already having a hard time with their own economies and do not have enough resources to take care of millions of new people who have nothing. It is like a row of dominoes. When one falls, it starts hitting the others. Sudan is also located right near a very important shipping route in the Red Sea. This is where big ships carry goods and oil to the rest of the world. If Sudan stays broken and chaotic, it could become a place where dangerous groups hide out and plan attacks on those ships or on other countries. Sudan's fall is making the problems in Egypt and other nearby nations much worse than they already were. It is a big part of a loop that is pulling the whole region down into the dark. If we don't start looking at the real reasons why this war is happening, the minerals, the hidden history, and the power games, the loop will just keep getting tighter. The tragedy isn't just that people are losing their homes, it's that their suffering is being used as a smokescreen for a global grab for power and wealth that most people don't even know exists. Is the total break of these 7 nations a planned event to reset the globe, or just bad luck? Let us know your thoughts. Like and subscribe for more deep dives.